Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Sojka.
Hello, Richard.
Stefan, I'm afraid you're looking a bit worried to me.
I'm very concerned.
Are you?
This is the final year of existence of the entire universe.
Again.
I'm very concerned. I'm preparing. I'm making preparations. I'm tying up all my loose ends.
Are you?
Yeah, 2012 is here.
2012, 2012,
I know. This little tiny planet on a spiral arm of a galaxy in the middle of nowhere.
Pale blue dot?
This pale blue dot.
Yes.
From here, the entire universe is just going to vanish.
From here?
Yeah, from here, because from our perspective.
You mean the epicenter will be planet Earth?
Well, no, the epicenter is kind of my brain.
Oh, talking about pale blue dots. Hello, Stefan.
Hello, good evening, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, back in the Skeptic Zone. Good to see you again for 2012.
And what episode is it?
You wouldn't believe this. It's 168. Now,
that's ridiculous.
In numerology, that means actually 168. How about that?
In base 10 mathematics as well. Wow, 168.
Yeah. 16.8 if you're doing it by 10.
Every 10 episodes. If you only, well, see, my iPod only sort of loads up the last 10 episodes, and I only get to listen to one. So it's about 16.8 that I've actually heard.
There you go. 2012, isn't it great to be in another year? And I was just looking at the Skeptic Zone website the other day, and I realised that the Skeptic Zone has now been broadcast, if you like, or out there in 5 different years. 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, and now 12.
Wow.
How about that?
Just for a moment, I thought you were going to say 5 different languages. I was going to say, who's been translating this stuff?
We are heard around the world, speaking of different languages, and we have a lot of fans in Norway. Norway! And so many fans in Norway that we're going to be speaking in this episode to the president of the Norwegian Skeptics.
Wow. It's interesting. I actually know a few people who've been to Norway, because Norway, for some reason, is very big with Rotary. And I, as a very proud Rotarian, half the time, they send a few exchange students there. And so, yeah, we've actually got a Norwegian girl staying with our club at the moment. And interestingly,
yeah,
they are, from what I could tell, they're actually quite a few climate skeptics in Norway.
Well, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah, but in Norway you would think that there'd be quite noticeable changes, and they're saying nothing.
They're hoping for it, in fact, in Norway. They're hoping for warmer
to warm it up. Yeah, that's
right. But
greener pastures.
One person I'm sure is not hoping for dramatic climate change is Marit Simonsen, who is the president. And Marit will be talking to us about, get this.
Yes.
Dead fish. From Norway.
What a topic. Actually, that's a fantastic topic.
Thousands of dead fish.
They washed
20 tons of dead herring mysteriously washed up on beaches in Norway.
Did you say dead or red?
Dead.
Oh, sorry. My hearing's going.
They might have been a red herring.
I think they were a red herring.
And then vanished.
But they washed up and vanished.
Maybe they were eaten by the Norwegians. I don't know. Maybe Marit will be able to help us out here.
I hope so, because it sounds a bit like Photoshop to me.
We'll find out. But you know what? This was over New Year's Eve, right? And in the little town of Behe, Arkansas,
all those birds fell out of the sky.
All those birds fell out of the sky too.
I actually do not like fireworks. I mean, everyone gets all excited about them, but really they're nasty things.
I used to like them when I was a kid, because when you and I were kids, we had firecracker night here in Australia. You remember that?
DIY fireworks.
And people got their hands
blown off and stuff. Got blinded in one eye.
So the government banned that many years ago, but I still remember that wonderful smell of gunpowder. And when I used to live in Germany 20 years ago, in fact, this year I lived in Germany, when they had New Year's Eve, out came all these firecrackers I remembered from when I was a kid, and pop, and the smell of gunpowder.
Yeah, but you can get that smell in a laboratory anytime you like. You just got to turn up at one knock on the door and say, hey, I need a hit of gunpowder, and they'll give it to you.
I haven't...
If you pay them enough.
I haven't seen the big fireworks here in Sydney for a few years now, but you know what? I've seen lots of fireworks.
I actually had a front row seat. I was at Cremorne Point, these fireworks, and this New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
It was big, but it just doesn't float the boat anymore.
But if people like going to see fireworks, good on them.
Good on them.
I mean, I've enjoyed fireworks.
And Happy New Year to all
Happy
of
New
them.
Year's. Pop,
Yeah.
pop.
So what's happening this episode?
Apart from the fish, of course. Apart from the dead
Yes,
fish. I mean, we could do a whole episode on dead animals, couldn't we?
I think that whole fireworks thing was a red herring. Anyway, yes, besides the fish.
But we have more dead things with a very lively person, if I can put it that way. We have a new reporter.
Yay!
Penny Chan from Los Angeles. From what do they call it? La La Land. Los Angeles.
Well, we'll soon find out.
She's our brand new reporter on the Skeptic Zone, and her first report, she's speaking to a really interesting bloke by the name of Doug Goodrow, who works at the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History doing up fossils using his skills as a makeup artist and a mortician.
A makeup artist and mortician.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
Hey, that's pretty good. Hey, that's a bit of a challenge for a first-time reporter straight off the bat.
She's going straight into the deep end. A big report for Penny. That's coming up in the middle of the show.
And I must say, I've heard a tiny sneak preview of it, and she sounds great.
Sounds like a good report, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. And the Skeptic Zone welcomes her aboard.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Penny. We can't wait to hear more from Penny, of course. And to wrap up the show, we have a funny sort of a think tank segment that Dr. Rachie, myself, and Mad Maynard did at the ABC studios here in Sydney.
Oh, the new show.
We've just finished recording a couple of episodes of the brand new show for ABC Radio in Australia called The Dirty Disbelievers. That's going out tonight,
Whoa.
6 p.m. on your ABC local radio. Check your guides for details, but fear not. If you miss the show or you live overseas, you can pick it up online.
It'll be an online thing.
Yep.
And that's fantastic because actually, I don't know if not many people know what happens in Australia, but the ABC is actually very big.
Huge.
It goes regional, it
Yeah.
goes right across the country.
It's
fantastic.
It's the national broadcaster. And Maynard, of course, is very famous in Australia for having worked for many years on the national broadcaster.
So is this like, are you actually jumping ship? Is the Skeptic Zone going to die now and you're just going to become a dirty disbeliever?
Well, it depends on what pays better. No, of course not, Stefan. Of course not. This is just a fun thing.
It's a fun sideline.
And of course, don't forget, and I was just showing you a little bit earlier, Maynard's thermometer.
Oh, yes.
As Maynard says, don't use it internally. And this is Maynard's, and we will thank our listeners from now until the end of the world, which is later this year, for chipping in to help us get Maynard to TAM 10 in July this year in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah,
We've got over half the funds we need to get Maynard that plane ticket.
Yeah, and that's pre-cataclysm, so that's pretty good. I think it'll be money well spent.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Thank you again, listeners who chip in $1 a week. A lot of people chip in $1 a week, and that really helps us. And every now and then we got very generous listeners who throw maybe $100 or $200 our way. And that goes straight into the Skeptic Zone / Maynard's plane ticket fund.
Yeah, and if you don't give it to us, it's only going to go onto your electricity bill or your insurance or something, or you're going to eat or something. So there's better things to do with your money.
Much better things to do.
Skeptic Zone. Well, let's get on with it.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Yes, it might be raining pennies from heaven in some parts of the world, but in Norway it's raining fish from the ocean. Fish from the ocean. And the delightful giggle you can hear in the background is none other than Marit Simonsen, who is the president of the Norwegian Skeptics. Hello, Marit.
Hello, Richard. How are you today?
I think I'm better than the people in Norway who have to put up with lots of fish washing up on their oceans, and there's lots of mystery around this. Now, just to remind our listeners, on New Year's Eve, I think it was, or New Year's Day, hundreds and thousands of herring mysteriously washed up on the beaches in northern Norway, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, very, very, very far north. Pretty much, not a lot of people up there, and far north.
That's incredible. And what do you think caused this unusual event? And did the local Norwegians take advantage with getting free fish?
I think generally when there are a lot of dead fish, people worry about disease. So I don't think people exactly started harvesting, but there are a lot of delightful pictures of dogs running around and slipping and playing among all the slippery dead fish. But I don't know. I think most people are getting kind of used to mass death and just being a regular biological phenomena. So even though it got reported in all the papers checked with experts, biologists, ecologists, and they said that, these things are natural events and they usually have natural explanations. And if we have the opportunity to investigate, then we can usually come up with a really good explanation of why this happened.
Now, some of the ones I noticed that were being reported was at that time, just by sheer coincidence, well, of course, or the cause maybe of the fish stranding themselves, were wild storms.
Yeah, we've had some crazy weather here lately. But I think that was just one of the hypotheses that was brought up. The other main hypotheses were actually that it was an area with very shallow water, and the herrings might have been scared up in the shallow end by some predators and then being trapped there. And there was also like a freshwater river that pours out into the same area. So they might have been all basically drowned in fresh water.
How strange is that? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did see that one of the photographs you're referring to, and in fact, I think if listeners Google mass death herring Norway, they'll see the very famous picture with a dog sitting on the fish or running on the fish. Yeah, I don't think it'd be too edible after that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone got any samples because that's not a natural reaction for people to do. So the biologists, when they got there, it was too late. They couldn't really get samples to make the right experiments and see what was really the cause. They were already starting to decompose by the time the scientists got there.
Oh, okay. Yes, I can understand why they wouldn't be rushing around with their freezer bags ready to take home a haul of free fish.
Exactly.
It is a strange occurrence to happen. Do you get many strange things happening in Norway, like fish stranding themselves, or deer running into things, or whatever?
Well, we did have an albino elk once, but he was killed by some Danish hunters. Other than that, no, it's pretty normal up here. But of course, there are some conspiracy theories running around about what caused this. There's this one website. Yes, there's this one website that sort of collects all the conspiracy theories and strange ideas floating around in Norway, and they naturally have their own theories about what really happened with the fish. And they're reporting like mass deaths of pigeons and birds and crows and pelicans from all over the world, and claiming that this is something happening at extreme rates that hasn't happened before.
Ah, yes. Well, there'll always be a conspiracy, and of course, because there have been other deaths around New Year, especially in America, where all these blackbirds died.
Yeah.
In the state of Arkansas on New Year's Eve, but it's pretty likely they were spooked by fireworks. But I sort of like the idea of Norway. It reminds me, strangely enough, sometimes of Australia, simply because there are large bits of Australia which are pretty sparse and not many people go there or live there. And it would be true for Norway, I imagine, up in the north.
Definitely. It's exactly the same. It's very far between people and large distances that you have to travel just to get to the next city.
I'd love to experience that, especially not in the middle of winter, maybe in the autumn, before the snows come.
Yeah, it's really beautiful in the summer and in the fall. And if you like to strap planks onto your feet, such as skis, then you'll like it in the winter as well.
This is turning into a tourist ad for Norway, but I always had a dream of doing one of those cruises up the coast to visit the fields. Oh, yeah. And
that's quite a beautiful trip as far as I can tell. And actually, they filmed the whole thing for 5 days recently in the summer and showed everything on TV. It was round-the-clock coverage from that boat. Yes, it's available online. I'll send you the link.
You know what, Marit? I really think that you should think about a Skeptics Convention, the Norwegian Skeptics Convention. You could have lots of international guests, especially from Australia.
Well, we do have our own convention coming up in February.
But
we aren't getting that many international speakers. We have Richard Wiseman coming to visit us from England.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and then we have primarily Norwegian speakers. So the cream of the crop of the skeptics in Norway are coming to talk about relevant topics.
Well, I was just about to suggest you have a convention on a cruise ship. I think
that's a great idea.
Well, James Randi Educational Foundation have done this several times, and I was lucky enough to be on one in Alaska some years ago, and it was a fantastic way to have a convention. But I'm very excited to know that you're having a convention in February with Richard Wiseman, who I know, and is a wonderful man, a great speaker. Where is that being held?
It's being held in Oslo, at Oslo Congress Hall, and it's called Critical Mass in Norwegian, Kritisk Masse. So there's something for people to Google. And it's going to be great. We have a lot of prominent speakers, and come see us. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah, we had one in 2010 as well, and it was really, really good. And it really fired up a lot of people to get engaged and involved in the skeptics movement.
Well, I saw the video that was posted online when James Randi spoke in Norway, 2009 or 2010. I can't remember which year it was, or maybe 11.
Yeah, it was 2011 in March.
Well, there you go. And the hall where he spoke was packed, absolutely filled, and there was hundreds of people watching James Randi.
Yeah, it was wonderful. He filled up every auditorium that he went to. He went to one in Oslo where about 1,500 people showed up for a 1,000-seat venue. And the same thing happened in Trondheim and in Bergen, which are smaller cities and smaller venues, but still about half of the people that showed up had to be turned away at the door.
Wow, that's really good to hear. So I also noticed when I look at the statistics for the Skeptics Zone that we do have a lot of listeners in Norway, and I'm very pleased. So hello, a special hello to all our listeners in Norway. And how can our listeners in Norway find out more about the Norwegian Skeptics?
Well, I guess the best place to go is our webpage, which is currently being refurbished. But the webpage is skepsis.no, where there is a calendar and links to the forum where a lot of things are posted and lively discussions are taking place. We also get visits from a lot of the conspiracy theories and alternatively minded people that live in our country. So we do have fruitful discussions, actually, with active moderators and everything. It's very good. Find us on Facebook. There are more and more skeptics in the pubs popping up all over the country. And, of course, you should listen to the Norwegian podcast, which is called Saltklippa, or Pinch of Salt, which is in no competition to Richard's podcast, because we only talk about Norwegian news items.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I guess if you do that, if you check out those sites and follow us on Twitter, you'll find most of the stuff that's going on.
And what do people look for on Twitter? How do they follow you there?
That's Skepsis Norge, which is just Skeptics Norway in Norwegian.
Wow.
Pretty simple.
That's pretty simple, and I love the idea of like-minded people like yourselves and the people in Norway doing the similar sort of things that we're doing all the way on the other side of the world. And when I think about it, you really can't get much further apart than you in Norway and us here in Australia. It's a long distance.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's very, very far.
Now, Marit, I hope I might be lucky enough to meet up with you soon in Manchester for QED, but I happen to know that a friend of yours in the Norwegian Skeptics, Kristen Carlson, will be there.
Yeah, she's going to be going. I'm very jealous. I have to work that weekend, unfortunately, but I'll try. I'll try my hardest to get away and come join you guys, because it's going to be awesome.
That would be great, because I did have the pleasure of meeting you and your brother in Las Vegas last year at TAM. That was exciting. I remember I was in the corridor or somewhere, and suddenly you were in front of me. And because of my jet-lagged and frazzled state, it was hard to take in, and then suddenly it just hit me. Oh, my goodness me, it's Marit from Norway.
You did look a bit frazzled at that point, yeah.
I did, but one of your friends, I can't remember who it was now. Somebody gave me this amazing candy. Now, it was either Norwegian or Swedish or something.
That was the Norwegian candy, yeah.
Norwegian candy. Oh, man. But luckily I loved it. It was really strong, salty candy, but I loved it.
Yeah, it was something to be had.
There we are, friends. There's another reason why we should all visit Norway, not only for the wonderful company of the skeptics up there and the wonderful cruises and the wonderful conventions, but the candy is just unbelievable.
I wouldn't believe it by the faces that we saw when we gave it to you guys, but okay.
Well, I mean, the Australians have the same trick. When we go over, we take Vegemite and mustics and we give it to people and they go, "Wah!"
At least you get attention.
That's true. Marit, thank you so much for sparing some time. Look out for fish. I hope they don't rush up anywhere near you. And I certainly hope to see you, if we're lucky enough, in Manchester very soon. And if there's any news from Norway you'd like to tell the world about via the Skeptic Zone, just give me a call.
Thank you so much.
Marit. Og jeg Kristin, og vi vil tipse deg som norsk lytter av Skeptic Zone om skeptikermiljøet i Norge.
Det finnes norske blogger og pubtreff og podcast, og foreningen Skepsis driver med slikt som disse du hører på nå.
Sentralt skepsis.no, og her publiseres det dyptgående artikler, en kalender over aktiviteter og lenker til nyttige ressurser.
Skepsis-bloggen oppdateres jevnlig, og det diskuteres heftig på forumet, så stikk innom og delta du også.
Skepsis.no.
Here's Penny Chan with a penny for your thoughts.
When I first met Doug Goodreau, he was carving pumpkins at a Halloween fair. Actually, to say he was carving pumpkins is wrong. He was artfully transforming them into monstrous creatures and hideous shrunken heads. While talking to him, I found out that his day jobs involves real dead monsters. Doug started out as a special effects makeup artist and sculptor for films. He later took up mortuary work where he found his artistic skills were greatly valued. As a paleontologist, he puts his mortician skills and artistic talents to use in preparing fossils.
I was more familiar with the state-of-the-art materials and techniques and where to get those, what resources there were out there from the film industry. Mm-hmm. So I took that knowledge and applied it to paleontology.
I met up with Doug where he works at the Los Angeles County Museum of Natural History. This is an interesting area. What do you call this area that we're in right now? It's a sort of outdoor fossil storage area, it looks like.
Right.
We're on the top floor of the museum now.
Yeah, we just refer to it as the back deck. It was called that before I started working here, so I just that's kind of what we call it. And it's a back outside area for making a mess and easy cleanup.
There on the back deck lay dozens of enormous dinosaur fossils, many still carefully encased in the plaster jackets they had been placed in for transport from the excavation site. Here the staff spends countless hours painstakingly chipping away layers of hardened sediment from the fossils. Remember the beginning of Jurassic Park, where the paleontologists effortlessly sweep away dust and sand from fossils laying in the field using paintbrushes? This is nothing like that. So it looks like you have dental tools.
A lot of it. Nothing. The technology hasn't changed much since paleontology was first started back in the late 1700s or so.
So we've got 4 pieces here on this. What do you call this?
We have a sand table. It's nice.
Sand table, a tabletop. Just imagine a tabletop, but instead of a hard surface, it's just sand that you've put there on like a sandbox.
It's a big sandbox or like a litter box.
So it just like cradles.
Yeah, and then if you're,
so you have a nice soft surface to work on.
Right, and these are often awkward shapes, and we don't have maybe something to prop them up. You have glue on there and it's drying.
Mm-hmm.
If it were to fall over, it's cushioned in the sand. It doesn't hit a hard countertop surface or possibly fall into the floor.
Right, and earthquakes around here don't want suddenly
it's earthquake safe as well.
Fall down.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So that's a nice safe place to work that way. Yeah, and lots of sandbags as well.
And is this what you've been working on currently?
We're focusing on this because it's a new species.
And sorry, and can you repeat what's the species called?
It's a new species of diplodocid. It's a big sauropod, big long tail, long necked, large, plus size herbivores.
Is it from Utah? You said
Utah, right?
Okay. When was this discovered? When was it?
This was found a couple of years ago. 2008, I think, originally.
2008? Okay. It's a few days after Christmas. You said it was dead during the past week or so?
Well, the day before and after, I think, but then suddenly...
today. I came here today. There's so many people down there.
Yeah.
It's all little kids and parents, it looks like, on Christmas vacation. Just come here for a day of fun and knowledge. Dinosaurs.
Right.
But you said that you also had some people from England come?
Yes, a couple. Yeah. Just yesterday. Well, from all over. And folks from all over join us on expeditions as well.
What do they want to know? You said they were creation?
There was a guy, him and another co-writer were going, trying to talk to other scientists, other people in scientific backgrounds about how religion and science often butt heads. Creationism is one part of it, or a big part of it. And we often see creationists in our museum. And because you hear them and how they're explaining to their group how things came to be and how these fossils, just ignoring all scientific data and proof, and claiming that these the specimens that we work on they're making fossils, so to speak, or they're
fake.
These are
they're
thousands of years old. And yes, that's where they make the dinosaurs. And
what do you think? Do you ever have an urge to say something to them, like, well, actually, I was out there digging these up. I've got the sunburns to prove it.
Yeah, I've done the time
I worked
and made the effort
myself quite hard.
Yeah, and this has been a passion of mine since I was a child, and so you'd have to. That'd be quite a hoax to be able to date the material, but through other scientific means. Radiometric dating is the main one that we use for measuring the amount of radioactivity in the sediments and material, and you can put a specific number on that, and how long it takes that radioactivity, the isotopes, to break down, and give yourself a solid number, and it goes back millions of years old. In the case of the Morrison Formation material, it's 150 million years old. Mm-hmm.
So how does it make you feel when you hear these people explain to their kids they're not real fossils or something like that?
If people have a question for me, you could stand out there and spend your whole day talking, explaining to people what's going on, because they'd rather do that than just read the signage or try to interpret things for themselves. They want some sort of one-on-one interaction with people that actually do this stuff. And I really haven't been confronted in an aggressive manner, but I've heard people passionately explain their view of things and then move the group on. But if I'm asked, I'll give my best explanation as politically correct and sensitive to their belief system as possible. So religion is faith-based rather, and science is just that. It's data that's gathered, and then you establish a scientific fact based on that data and how you interpret it. And you test that data, and time and again you come up with the same results. So you have a fact that's then established as fact, mm-hmm. and you build upon that, and that's where you get your knowledge. So if you want to believe in parts of things where obviously, yes, this is a rock, but it has strange anatomical features, you might just believe that it's nothing more than a rock, and you're welcome to do that. But other folks aren't going to just have faith that that's in that being a rock, and that is a 5,000-year-old rock. they might want to know more, and if they ask questions, you'll find if you look at other techniques or methods of dating material, it's going to point you in the direction of, no, that information's wrong. Here's what the data is showing you. It's older. And how come this rock doesn't look like any others? How come this kind of rock has been found in the same level of sediment all over the world?
Downstairs is the Dino Lab, where paleontology staffers liberate fossils from their matrices using miniature jackhammers and sandblasters. This is done in full view of visitors, behind acrylic glass windows. Today they're working on 2 sauropod skeletons called Royce and Natalie. Right now we're looking, there's a window inside the museum, and behind it we can see into this, what do you call this room?
This is the Dino Prep
Just the Dino Prep Lab. And we see looks like a vertebrae of
these
Royce.
Are some articulated, the vertebrae of Royce, the caudal tail. The caudal vertebrae of the tail. And you'll notice we're looking at, the closest thing to us are these chevrons. And those are the little bones that articulate underneath the tail. You see the dorsal spines on top. So it's a big, wide tail, probably thick with muscle. But there's a simplified diagram on the
right behind us. Wow.
So this would be something along the lines of what Royce would be.
He is very tall.
Yeah, well, that's even downsized quite a bit.
That's not even here. So now I see there's people working in there right now in this section.
The color, that's called,
yeah, see, that's more of the copper that he's jackhammering away.
Yeah, so you can hear faintly the buzz of the...
Yeah.
And that's the green color. You can see that's Natalie. And Don is doing something that's less exciting, needs to be done. He's volunteering on to piece together some fragments of I think some more portions of Natalie.
Waving at them, hello! They see us.
Here's some lumps of bone that I believe are...
Is that a giant vacuum or a giant blower?
We need lots of those. And this is like an ankle bone. So it'd be that flat kind of oddly shaped bone right beneath the tibia. And then a toe bone.
And it says... Robert, that's just what you said. There's a sign that says Robert is preparing a toe bone from a large sauropod found in Utah. Exactly
so we can't
what
really
you said.
Communicate through the glass very well. People do hold up signs or try to get us to read lips and things like that.
Do sign language.
Yeah.
Doug knows his stuff, and exploring the dinosaur exhibits with him was a lot of fun. You can find out more about him and see his pumpkin art at peculiarpumpkinportraits.com. And if you ever find yourself in LA, check out the museum. Say hi to the folks in the Dino Lab. They work hard to recover and assemble the impressive dinosaur skeletons seen in the exhibits. Oh, and if you ever go on the back deck, watch out for wasps.
They like to build nests up here. They're okay, don't worry.
It's a huge wasp.
No.
I don't want to.
They're fine. They're right.
We are outside.
Just build a big nest up in there.
Oh my gosh.
Hi, this is Tim Farley. You probably know me from whatstheharm.net, a catalog of the real-world harm caused by lack of critical thinking. But that's not my only project. I present at Skeptic events. I post a daily Skeptic history fact on Twitter and Facebook. And I blog about using new techniques on the internet to advance skepticism. Come over to skeptools.com and check out my latest ideas. But first, enjoy the rest of the Skeptic Zone.
Join us now for Drinking Skeptically in the Think Tank.
Well, we're deep inside the bowels of the ABC right now, which probably explains the smell. And we've got Dr. Rachie. Hi, Dr. Rachie.
Hi, Dr. Maynard.
And we have Richard Saunders.
Maynard. It's actually where up, aren't we? We're not in the bowels. We're sort of in the intestines.
We're on the 4th floor in one of the Radio National studios, which will probably never be the same. In fact, everything you hear is brand new because they're experimenting with some new technology, which is fantastic and going to be spread throughout all the ABC, and we're one of the first people to use it.
It's a lovely wood-panelled studio here with double glass behind us, and you were sitting over there at the desk.
Yes.
And we were your guests here on the other side.
And I had an operator, and let me tell you, I haven't had someone operate a panel for me since the days of Triple J. It's fantastic. You can just concentrate on the show. And Jamie Leonardo was here having a chat with us, and a great anomalist, and I thought it was a good show with you guys. We're still finding our way. How did you find it?
I thought it was really fun, Maynard. And yeah, we had a Glaswegian panel operator, which was cool.
We did, yeah.
Named Charlie.
Yep. Charlie McHugh in there. And like I said, you can't do anything in entertainment without Charlie.
That's true. But Maynard, I thought we did a couple of recordings just now, and that's going out pretty soon. I thought it went really well. It was lighthearted, it was fun, and it was interesting.
Okay, so if you're listening to this in Australia, it'll be at 6 o'clock tonight on your local radio network. The cricket's on one network and we'll be on the other one. So if you've got a digital radio, you can get us on that, or you can go to your local radio website and just click on the link there, or you can go to our Facebook page where the audio will be available on demand shortly after the show's finished. I might even put someone else's show up there instead, which is better.
So...
I was just about to say, Maynard, it's nice to be here with you in your natural environment.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. This is doing kind of one. Now, how did you find it, Dr. Rachie? Because talking with Jamie, we were talking about some interesting stuff. We had the Kennedy assassination brought up there. We had the alien mothership. And I must say, Richard admitted to the possibility of the alien mothership being on the way. Oh, I almost weed myself.
Well, as you will hear me on the show itself, that's right. Well, why not? Why? There's nothing stopping it. There's not like there's a big stop sign outside the solar system that says aliens keep out, you know.
Well, I mean, we found a planet recently that's 600 light years away, which apparently also is what was said in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right?
Ooh, I don't know.
That one of the planets in Hitchhikers is 600 light years away. That's a sign. But it's going to take them a long time to get here, Maynard. So
They could be coming, that's assuming that Einstein is correct. And look, really, when it's either...
We have to repeat that experiment. We've only repeated it twice.
Yeah, but
we've done it twice.
Yeah, but I've already taken down my photo of Einstein and put up my photo of Deepak Chopra.
Oh, God. No, don't do that, Maynard.
because he claimed that he knew about this years ago.
Who did?
Deepak. He knew that stuff goes faster than light.
Do you follow him on Twitter? He makes absolutely no sense.
Oh,
I think that's the idea.
Yeah, because there's an account that takes the mickey out of him, and it's often very difficult to tell between the two. Because the account that takes the mickey is D-Bag Chopra. So it's not not many letters are that different. So you have to look twice often because it's gibberish. So put Einstein back on the wall, Maynard.
And I've actually met Deepak Chopra once. I interviewed him on Channel V, and I got to say one thing about him. Whatever you may say about him, I think he was probably the most relaxed person I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
No comment.
He was just relaxed. I mean, I don't know. It must be
good for him.
The meditation. It's hard to imagine him getting fazed by anything, really.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about paying rent, does he? Or, putting food on the table because he gets lots and lots of money from making stuff up. So I'm sure he's pretty relaxed. I'd be pretty relaxed too if I owned a big house and a big car and a big pool and a team of people to cook for me and stuff like that.
Look, I'm pulling people's chain all the time, but I don't look too relaxed.
Yeah, well, I don't know. And what I've said, I don't have any evidence for, by the way. I just hypothesise that he probably has enough money to look very relaxed.
And how did you find it actually being in a real broadcast? I mean, wouldn't this be great? Wouldn't the think tank go well in here?
Well, yes and no, Maynard, because part of the pleasure and the character of the think tank is we're actually in a real club with a real restaurant and people running up. Like in the last think tank we did, you up and went to the bar halfway through the show.
Well, that's what I told you I was doing.
That's right.
But Maynard, we could take callers in here, couldn't we? We could have talk back.
Oh,
yeah, you could.
Would be really fun, wouldn't it?
I'd love to do that.
In fact, the only thing I think isn't in this studio that it could probably use is a webcam.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see one. But, yeah, talkback, calls, open line for the think tank would be fantastic. That'd be good fun.
Well, maybe we could get that together sometime. I mean, maybe you could organise an open Skype session at a certain time. Say, Richard and we're all going to be at one place. This is the Skype thing.
Might work.
Okay. Well, look. We've already decided the alien mothership's on the way. The jury's out on Lee Harvey Oswald. There, unfortunately, he's dead. But the jury. Well, look. Yeah, well, I mean, I think you said that he did it, you know.
I'm pretty sure he did
it. Well, you said that what Richard said was the evidence at the moment points to the fact that he was the lone gunman. And until we get any contradicting evidence, that would be the current evidence. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best fit for all the evidences. Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman. I make no comments here about deeper conspiracies or whatever the case may be, but the ballistics and the trajectory of the bullets and all.
But it was great to see Jamie Leonardo's face when you said that.
Yeah.
He was thinking, it's one of those people that believe the Warren Commission. And I've got to say, the Warren Commission has got some problems, and I would recommend the movie made shortly after called Rush to Judgment. And read up about that, because people reckon that's a flawed movie as well for certain reasons. But it's worth watching for merely the evidence submitted by the piano player at the Carousel Bar, because he's actually playing the piano as he's describing meeting some of the major characters in the assassination at the Carousel Club. It's one of the strangest interviews I've seen. This guy's playing jazz piano and going, I saw Harvey Oswald. He plays the piano in between. It's a great interview.
Also, listeners might Google the Hat Man and JFK assassination. That's an interesting story. I'll leave that go, but Google the Hat Man.
And so basically, you think the Dirty Disbelievers is a positive experience for you, or is it something you're going to change your clothes and wear dark glasses?
Well, I'll do that anyway. No, it was great fun, but I just noticed there's a sign above us, Maynard, as we gaze up to the wall near the clock. No food or drink in studio. Oh, that's not good.
Look, we do have a Dirty Disbelievers Facebook group, and the audio on demand will also be on there. And we have a section called Crank Mail.
Yeah.
If you want to get something into us about the show, whether you like it or not, but probably more what we're looking for is posing some unusual questions. Like we had someone claiming, and they were making an extraordinary claim, which means it requires extraordinary evidence, which we usually don't have. In that, Xanadu was the best musical of the 80s. Now, keep in mind, it's up against Can't Stop the Music, Flashdance, and Footloose, just to name a couple. And
Flashdance was pretty exceptional. How often do you get a welding dancer who is wet all the time?
Yeah, well, how often do you get Kevin Bacon dancing to a Volkswagen going through a car wash?
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is Flash Gordon considered a musical?
No.
It's got music by Queen.
Actually, I would throw that one in there a little bit, and it was actually the script was written by Lorenzo Semple Jr., Flash Gordon. Now, does that ring a bell with anyone?
No.
Now, anyone who ever watched Batman would have seen his name at the beginning of every 60s Batman episode, because he was the script overseer for the original Batman. That's why the Flash Gordon movie is so camp and has that thing about it. In fact, there's a great moment where they're tied up and the scene cuts to them, and the guy says to Flash, "So tell me about this man Houdini." And then they cut to another scene. And that's classic Batman. You know, I recommend go have a look at it, even if you don't like the Queen music and it's a bit of a daggy thing. It's fun.
One of the things we were discussing in the show itself, and of course listeners all around the world will be able to listen to the Dirty Disbelievers, was sort of underrated news or suppressed news. I think Flash Gordon is a suppressed movie. I think it was great fun.
Yeah, look, and also, like, we're still finding our way with this show. Like, I mean, we've got you guys with the Skeptics and Jamie, who has a different opinion on things, and it was very respectful, and we were looking at different sides of things and just having a discussion. We weren't trying to have an argument. We weren't trying to win points. We were just trying to make entertaining radio and make people think and maybe...
Our points of view, as it turned out, weren't hugely different.
And, well, like I like to point out, and a lot of skeptics will hit me over the head for this, is that, like, sometimes people's level of evidence is just lower than what is usually demanded by skeptics. And I think that is the critical difference here. Would you think that?
Yeah, probably. But I think also Jamie mentioned he'd had some difficult experiences with some other people that he thought were skeptics, so he was a bit worried about speaking to us. And it turned out we're not as evil and we don't have horns on our heads after all.
Well, that's one of the biggest problems we have, Maynard, frankly, is people come to us and say, "Oh, you skeptics are this, that, or the other, or I met a skeptic and blah, blah, blah." And my response is usually to that, well, who are you talking about? Who is this person that you met who was a complete ass or whatever the case may be? And invariably it's just some ass who calls themselves a skeptic, not one of us.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's someone who was like being a dick, to use the phrase you guys like to.
That's right. Yeah. So, of course, there's any number of people that can call themselves a skeptic and be a dick and offend people, and it just happens that we tend not to be those people. Although I think people that watch The One might have a different opinion of you, Richard.
Yeah. Actually, I might. I've got some notes here that I made for the listeners at home. These are some of the. You can play along at home the Dirty Disbelievers quiz. I just made this up in 5 minutes before the show, and I started up because I spoke to Adam Curry from the No Agenda show, and I've actually got an interview coming up with John C. Dvorak in the near future too, and he's very hard to get to interview. Looking forward to him. Of course, me and the skeptics wouldn't agree with the No Agenda show. I'd say they probably wouldn't be on board, but I like the show because I do great mental gymnastics with it. But these are some of the questions that we asked on the show. Okay, why don't you read them, Richard?
I haven't got where are my glasses? Here we go.
Now, play along at home. But bear in mind, some people would say there's right answers to this, but give it a go.
All right. Well, okay. We've already covered it. Is the alien mothership coming? That's a good question. I mean, what do you think, Maynard?
Look, I'm going to leave that. You can listen to the show. This is for the play-along people at home.
Oh, the play-along people at home. The other question was Lee Harvey Oswald the lone assassin? That's a very interesting question.
Yeah. Now, because most people will. The official answer is yes, but there's sure a lot of people that would argue about that one.
I'm sure there are. Another question: if you drink a litre of milk, or let's say a gallon or half a gallon, fast, will it always come out your nose? That's an interesting question.
See, so already we've moved from like political stuff to mucking around, and I think that's more the tone of the show as the questions will. Yeah.
How about? Is there such a thing as lucky undies or underwear?
See, that's a polarising question. There's people out there going, of course, and there's people going, well, I'll have to test that out 4 or 5 weekends in a row and then do a statistical graph and that sort of thing. The other one we got is now, if you're single and you tidy your bedroom before you go out, you'll never have anyone come home with you.
Absolutely. And I've done this experiment numerous times. And I can also attest to the fact if you wear your best undies out and you tidy your room, you've got no chance at all. So you've got to be wearing your bad undies and your room has to be a disaster.
And the last question there, listening to the Smiths leads to you feeling somewhat morose.
I think it depends on which song.
Whenever I hear Rain Falls Down on a Humdrum Town, I think about me in Newcastle.
No, yeah. See, it's all about association, isn't it? But if it's William was really nothing, then you probably just want to dance with a bunch of chrysanthemums, Maynard.
That's true, and I think I am turning into a chrysanthemums now. And look, I want to thank everyone who's helping the fund to get me to report on TAM 10. I'm looking forward to getting over there and having a chat with, whoever will talk to me, really.
Maynard, you're going to be very busy at TAM 10, I'm delighted to say. And again, thank you to all those listeners out there who are really chipping in, as Maynard's thermometer will show you.
Is that a euphemism?
Not to be used internally.
The money is growing, and yes, we will buy you that plane ticket.
And if you're wondering what I'm going to be doing when I get there, just go back last year to when I covered TAM Australia. Yeah. I think would have knocked over about close to 30 interviews, wouldn't I?
Absolutely. Well, listeners will well remember when we have a big event and you're on the scene, for weeks afterwards, we have lots of great interviews and insights from Maynard. So TAM 10 will be that on steroids.
And one of the things that you can check out, which is not actually on this podcast, but is on the Maynard's Malaise page, go and have a look for a podcast on my maynard.com.au site called The Music of TAM Australia. I went around and asked a whole bunch of skeptics and people that were attending what was their favourite song, what's a skeptical song. And basically, we weren't out to prove anything. We were just out to prove that there was a really eclectic taste in music. And if you can't find a song there you like, I reckon you're not really trying.
Yeah, that was really fun. I listened to those podcasts when I was catching a bus, I think out to Olympic Stadium, and I was dancing on the bus. That's what you're supposed to do, right, Maynard? Yeah. Oh, well, that's what I did.
That's cool.
And Maynard, just a note, especially for those listeners in Australia, while we were recording, in fact, the very first Dirty Disbelievers, Ponting got his century. Hooray!
Hooray!
Is that some sort of religious thing or something?
Yes.
And now you do know that, and that's what I like about the Dirty Disbelievers, because the cricket fans will be listening to the cricket, so we will have non-sporting people listening to our show. I love that. I love that.
It's a cricket story of all those people outside Australia.
So it's 6 till 6:30 p.m. Saturday and Sunday for the rest of January. The Dirty Disbelievers on digital radio, online. Just go to your local radio ABC website. You'll be able to click on the link, or it'll be up on our Facebook page, audio on demand, when the show has finished. And send stuff in. Just send us wacky questions, weird stuff, all sorts of things. You know, we're all up for it. And Jamie loves being challenged as well. So just send stuff in.
Thank you, Maynard. I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank Dr. Rachie for joining me in this impromptu think tank / Maynard's spooky action.
I'm just some guy
who's wearing pants on his head.
Dirty Disbelievers.
Evil!
Oh, what a lie.
I can hear them all.
What's going on?
Give me more, Mr. Announcer Guy.
On ABC Local Radio, digital radio and online. Weekends at 6 o'clock.
The Dirty Disbelievers. The Evil Disbelievers. Evil!
I would like to know.
Take the red pill and the blue pill, I say.
I can hear them all.
We'll all listen.
This is serious.
Richard?
Yeah, Stefan, you know the world didn't end while that show was on?
Well, no, but we're just starting the year. We've got a whole 12 months to see what happens.
Ooh, that's so it's the 21st, I think, is the date which is being floated, right?
21st of what?
December.
December.
So we've
really?
got a good 12 months, haven't we?
Oh, right, okay. And that gives them plenty of time to come up with excuses why it didn't happen as well, I suppose.
Oh, we're going to hear that.
We
always do.
2013, it'll be woohoo! What happened?
And just a sneak peek, next week on the Skeptic Zone, we're actually going to be talking to Dr. Phil Plait, the bad astronomer, about this very subject, the end of the world.
Oh, yes, indeed. That's why we tune into the Skeptic Zone.
We do.
And wasn't Penny excellent?
I loved it. A penny for your thoughts. Thank you, Penny Chan. Can't wait for your next report.
Can't wait for it. And hey, I must say that theme song sounds pretty good.
The theme song. I found that. I was walking down the street and there was like these MP3 players just kicking around. I picked up one and there was the theme.
There was a theme
You wouldn't
song.
believe it.
And it feels so LA. Yeah, it's got a real LA kind of flow to it.
It's pretty cool, Steph.
Well, actually, before we go,
you have a hot book in your hand.
I have a hot book in my hand. Now, look, I have not, because I only do this every now and then. Yeah. I was handed a book to review like yonks ago. So my deepest apologies to Andrew Carruth. He's written a book called The Christ Conundrum, The Skeptic's Guide to Jesus.
And he autographed it, I was noticing before.
Oh, he certainly did.
There it is, yeah.
Yes, I'm going to have him killed, so it'll be worth a fortune. No, but it's actually a fantastic book. I think you should Google it, The Christ Conundrum. I'm about halfway through, so I'm not going to review it right now, but it's a really, even though it's got a skeptical bent to it, it's actually quite an unbiased look at the life and times of Jesus and what was going on then and how the Bible got to be created and why there's different versions of things and how things got mistranslated and how all the books came together and got left out and all that.
How about that?
Yeah, it's
worth a Google, worth a look.
It's worth a Google, worth a look. Andrew Carruth, thank you for the copy and the autograph. You're safe. Don't worry. I'll give you. Oh well, you're going to die at the end of the year anyway. 2012.
It's not looking good for any of us.
No.
And you would say that was a good book.
It's a very, very good book.
And speaking of good books, you were telling me about another good book.
Oh, I'm not going to review 2 books in a row. Yeah, look,
you can mention one.
Yes, I will mention A.C. Grayling's The Good Book, A Secular Bible. It is a fantastic read. I'm about halfway through it. It's the best of human thought condensed into a biblical form. Yeah, so uses the same format as the Bible with chapters and verses and everything, but it's got nothing to do with religion. It's just humanity's best thinking. So give it a go.
How about that?
Well, I think we've had our time here, Richard. I know I don't get here very often, so these intros and outros are slightly extended sometimes when I don't turn up that much. We'll see you next time.
I think that's a good thing, though, Stefan. I think that's a good thing, but we'll see you soon, before the end of the world, we'll see you on a future episode.
Bloody well hope so. And
episode.
there could even be something special coming up in the next couple of weeks, so we'll see what happens there.
Keep your eyes out for that.
Bye. Bye.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.